Welcome back to Rhythm Section Live, the world's leading rhythm podcast, proudly sponsored by Collision Drumstick. Here, we don't just talk about drums, we dive deep into the culture, the history, and the personal journeys that brought our guests to the stage. We have some incredible conversations lined up for you. To keep up with our latest videos, tour dates, and exclusive behind-the-scenes content, be sure to subscribe and ring that notification bell. Don't forget to like this video and join the conversation in the comments below. Joining us this week is Paul Wilson from Riven by Riven. How are you today, Paul?
Good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm so excited to talk to you. You're such an amazing talent. You're a drummer, a trained pianist, audio engineer, and producer. Can you talk a little bit how playing a melodic instrument influences your approach to drumming? And do you think it helps you write drum parts in a different way?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it definitely helps write drum parts in a different way. But I think just overall learning any instrument besides your core instrument is beneficial to any musician. So, especially for a drummer, right? Because as drummers, we don't really need to worry about, reading music or necessarily having our drums set to certain notes and things. But, piano is a really good overall instrument for just learning to read music, understanding melody, getting a good idea of just kind of how all that works, and then giving you kind of an understanding of how the other musicians are writing and where they're coming from as well. So, piano is really similar to guitar and bass. So then it gives you just a better understanding of how your bandmates are writing, and it's only going to benefit you as a musician and a
Plus,
songwriter.
it's a melodic and a rhythmic instrument, so it kind of bridges the gap between the two sides, and I think writing drum parts as opposed to just playing drum parts are just two different skills, and I'm wondering if that you feel like that helps in how you approach it. I guess you started off playing piano, so maybe you wouldn't know just being a drummer. You've always had kind of that influence, but um, do you think it makes you listen to music in a more melodic way as opposed to rhythmic?
Yeah, I think so. Being that it's so melodic and drums aren't really like that. But yeah, like you said, I mean, I started with piano. I always wanted to play drums, but I started playing piano when I was like 5. So my real introduction to music early on was, a very melodic instrument. And I learned songs and played piano recitals and did a lot of that for probably like 5 years before I actually started playing the drums.
So when you were young and you were first practicing piano, was there somebody that was like really pushing you to practice regularly?
But yeah, I can thank my mom for that. She's a musician, and she's a big influence on. She's very adamant about my sister and I starting with piano and then going from there with whatever instruments we wanted to learn. But yeah, she definitely pushed to get us into piano and just get a foundation in music and then go from there.
And really, like, having a foundation in practicing and being disciplined and working through like the struggles of being frustrated and wanting to give up and keep going is really important. And I think a lot of times parents give in to that, but it's good that she didn't, because now you are today and like you're doing all these like really cool things beyond probably what she expected you would do. But it's really great that you had that early on.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like pushing your kids to do sports when they're young too, right? Like the kids are going to be resistant to a lot of things when they're younger just because they don't. If you don't make them do something, they're not going to do it. There's that line of kind of pushing and then also kind of nurturing into something so that to find what people are interested in and to learn new things. So
Right.
I think it's similar to that.
Good. So I understand that you're a key contributor to the band's music videos and visual components. Can you talk about your role in that and how it's used as an extension of your rhythm, or also talk about what you bring to the table with that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think any visuals are just kind of an extension of the music and just another part of the whole art package. So I think we just utilize that the best we can as another extension of expressing our music through visuals and music videos and stuff like that. So I kind of learned Da Vinci that program and just kind of taught myself. And then Brian does some of the editing as well. He made our Trainwreck music video, and yeah, Brian made that, and then he's editing a live studio video we did, and then I've kind of done like the rest, a lot of the like social media teasers and announcements and show stuff. I'll edit a lot of that and kind of incorporate art we like that helps represent the band.
I was watching some of your live videos, and you have this big trigger pad beside your drum set
Uh-huh.
for triggering samples, or is it for triggering visual stuff?
All samples.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's some cool samples I noticed on the record that are or at least sounded like samples, and so you're doing that live too.
Yeah, yeah, that allows us to kind of replicate everything we did in the studio, and then we play to a click track live.
Yeah.
So that made we kind of had to be able to use the samples. We had to play to a click. So I trigger the click with my sample pads, and then there's different triggers throughout each song that I'm filling in as I play. So that was a learning experience in itself. But it's fun to be able to add that stuff in.
How do you feel about playing to a click live? Do you enjoy that?
I've been in bands before that have done it, and I do kind of like it.
I like it too. I think it's pretty freeing. I was resistant
Yeah,
first, but it feels like it kinda gives you some boundaries that you can live within, and then and you know, because, there's the excitement of push and pull live, but it
yeah,
gets those boundaries, so I enjoyed it, but how did
yeah.
you react to it?
I think it just depends on the player and the band and the style of music. Because there's some bands I've been in where it just doesn't make sense. It would just be awkward. There's, I don't know, bands that kind of jam more, have more loose parts. We're pretty structured. And there's, again, with samples and everything we have, it's nice having, like, we need to have that click going and the time signature and everything set so we can stay on it with it. It makes it actually more comfortable for our style of music. So we've all gotten used to it and we like it.
That's good.
Yeah.
So you and Brian had Ghost to Army for years, and then during the pandemic, it dissolved and you guys started Riven by Ravens, and, I think you played as a duo for a while, and now it's a five-piece, correct?
Four piece.
Four-piece, okay. So you play with another musician for that long, the relationship, I think, becomes kind of telepathic. Can you kinda elaborate on the collaborative journey between the 2 of you, and maybe how that relationship has expanded when you've added 2 other players to that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think Ghost Army, it really started as kind of like a template for Riven by Ravens, or what we became with that band.
Mhm.
And we didn't realize that at the time. And, going through the pandemic when a lot of bands broke up and a lot of things changed, it felt like, kind of a awful moment, but it really ended up kind of being, I think, in the long run, the right moment for us, and the kind of the transition and the evolution of where the band went, and
Yeah.
like the birth of Riven by Ravens. But yeah, I've known Brian a really long time now. I mean, maybe like pushing 10 years or something. Just from the first moment we got together and jammed, there's that magical feeling when you get in a room, and things that you don't really have to think about, and you just kind of speak to each other musically, and it's always worked, and we just complement each other and have a really easy relationship playing music together.
That's a real luck, I think, when you can find that, because it's hard to find people that are on the same page. 2 people on the same page is fantastic, but when you have 4 people on the same page and working towards the same goal is like a magic moment in time, and, it's really sharing something special, when you have
Yeah.
this relationship with these other people and everyone's putting the same effort into caring for this baby that's, like, you're creating, making this beautiful creation.
Yeah, like the endless group project, right? I mean,
Yeah,
you spend a lot of time with these people, like things have to really work. And it's also over time you figure that out. Sometimes things are great. We've all been with bands and musicians, and then 6 months down the road, it is just like a nightmare. So
right.
we're lucky again. Yeah. When we did Venerate, it was just the two of us. And then we, found Mikey and Joe. And I mean, sometimes you just get lucky and the right musicians just come into your life, and it keeps going, and it's fun.
So speaking of Venerate, first of all, I was listening to it all day, and I've been listening to it over the last month. You released it in 2024, and I think it was quite an endeavor for you, and you had a lot of contribution to writing and playing great drum parts. So let's talk a little bit about that experience and what are some of your favorite parts and what are you most proud of?
The whole process was really fun and probably one of the best albums I've ever created. And just as a whole piece of music, it's maybe the most cohesive, kind of uniform on all levels, from the lyrics to just the whole concept. It's really a big concept album. And it was just, the whole thing was pretty, I mean, it's an emotional album. It's super personal. And Brian and I recorded and wrote and mixed and mastered, did the whole thing ourselves, simply just because we hadn't met Joe and Mikey yet or brought them in. But yeah, the whole thing, it was a really fun experience. So the whole thing was really positive. I feel like it came together really easy. Like I said, we kind of already, Brian has written big chunks of songs that we picked out with Ghost Army and he's had over the years. And so there was kind of a lot to work off over the years and then make it our own special thing. So it came together well. And yeah,
It's really emotional. When I'm listening to it, it does seem like there's a lot of emotion behind it, and one of my favorite parts of the record first of all, 14 songs is that's a pretty long record.
it's big. And it's like 72 minutes
Yeah.
of music. I mean, there's only a couple songs that are like 3 minutes. They're mostly 5 to 7 minutes at least, I think.
Well, I love the beginning and the piano and the vocals together and how it's kind of just dissonant and how the piano, like, starts with all the bass notes, and that's really invoking a lot of emotion, and I thought that was really one of my favorite parts of the record is how it starts off, and then it gets really big, and so there's a lot of dynamics in it, but one of the things that I was most impressed with is how big and full it sounds, especially for recording it in a home studio, and then you 2 doing that together. I mean, you must have really put a lot of work into that because it it doesn't sound thin in any areas. It sounds big and full, and all the parts are just taking up all of the space. And then, there's a lot of dynamics in there, but a lot of times when you're doing home recordings, there it can get thin.
Yeah.
So you guys did a really great job in that regard too, not only just writing, but also like the recording part, which is it's an art form in itself.
Yeah, absolutely. Brian is a really good audio engineer. I mean, we mix that together, but I mean, Brian is the mastermind behind that. He really, studied and kind of acquired a lot of knowledge along the way. And it was really impressive to see how fast he was learning things and implementing it with our band as we're
Cool.
recording. Yeah. So, I mean, that's why we're really excited about the next chunk of music too, because he's really advanced on that. And I think it's going to sound even better than that for sure.
And really, when you have your own space, you can have the time and space to do that and to have a learning curve and go back and start again or, resketch things and make it the way you want. Did you do
Yeah.
much of with this?
Uh, yes, and yes and no. I mean, we were so kind of ready for this album. I feel like we recorded a lot of stuff, not fast, but I mean, at least like drum takes and stuff. We're going. We'd been working on these for a while. It was pretty. A lot of it was pretty ready, and then there was a chunk that came together during the whole creative process. Like the assistant, the piano song, and the ending song, like those just came about while recording. I mean, I wrote those lyrics in that both those that was actually one song originally, and when we broke it up into two. And I mean, I wrote that in like I think it was like a week. It just kind of all came together, and then Brian already knew like how he was gonna sing the vocals, and we just did that.
That's
But
cool.
yeah, most the bulk of the rest of it was pretty just ready. So it's more so on the new stuff we're writing that I'm definitely taking more advantage of having the time and the home studio to go in and kind of like go into a song like 75% and then spend, the rest of the time like working out the 25% of it by like, some bridge and then listening back and seeing what I like and adding stuff on purpose because it's really fun to write like that and to be able to do that as opposed to just happen to be ready to go in the studio and all right, drums are today. You have to do all 14 songs and then get out of the way. And so
Yes.
this, yeah, we're definitely taking more advantage of that and taking our time with these next couple of records to record like that.
So talk about that. You have 2 EPs that you're recording now.
Yeah.
What's happening with that?
We have two pretty much banked, and we've just about finished doing drums on the first 7 song, and then the other 7 are kind of ready to go. And I think the guys are starting to do some of their parts on the first one, but we're kind of planning on knocking out both of those, and then starting to rehearse and hopping on shows and stuff again, so we can kind of just have this endless chunk of music that just keeps getting released because there's
Okay,
even more material behind those two. So
that's
we want
great.
to just record and get a bunch of music going and release.
And so when you do start playing live again, what are your plans with that? Is it to go out on your own or supporting other acts, or do you have any plans yet?
There's talk of stuff, but we don't have any like set plans. But I think it'd be a mix. I think we want
Okay.
to try and have some of our own shows, so it's a little more about us, less a support slot with a bunch of bands. But
And
sometimes,
you have a lot of songs, so you could probably easily have your own night and do well with that.
yeah, we've been talking about that, how different that's going to be. Having this next EP, we're going to have a nice chunk to pull from, and a lot of it's long, so we could play a pretty big set of
Right.
our own.
I mean,
Yeah.
if you do all of Venerate and both of those, that's like 25 songs.
Yeah, oh, we could play 2 hours probably.
Right. Okay. That's pretty cool. Um, so you talked about Danny Carey from Tool and Abe Cunningham from Deftones were influential drummers for you. And then there's one other guy that you liked. Who is that?
Yeah, Josh Freese is
Yeah.
probably up there with the top 3 of my most influential drummers.
So how do you think that those guys have influenced you, and what is it you appreciate the most and have incorporated into playing?
I think, all 3 of them are just really unique, interesting players, super professional, and it's the bands they're attached to that also make them so interesting. So it's kind of the whole package of all of them. But I mean, talking about Danny Carey, obviously, I mean, he's one of the greatest drummers on the planet.
Yes.
Like nobody plays like him. The stuff he's done, besides being just groundbreaking, it's incredibly interesting. And, he's a guy that can make songs in 13 comfortable, to listen to. And just his tones and the production of their, Tool albums is so clean and crisp, and they replicate it live exactly like that. And it's just in really unique style of playing. Same with Abe Cunningham, like Deftones are way more groove, alternative kind of metal, but he makes really interesting beats, and different his little hi-hat hits, his little ghost note snare hits, his kick patterns. When you really look at what he does, like he'll sneak around the obvious and do really cool patterns. I think that's one of the things that makes that band really unique as well. And then Josh Freese, I mean, everyone knows Josh Freese. He's on every album ever created. He can play anybody's music, and he's just a cool drummer.
Just all that flavor that goes
So
into it.
yeah, so much flavor. All those guys. Yeah.
I wonder with like players like Danny Carey, because like we all sit around and we practice and practice and practice, but there has to be something else going on in somebody's head, like that is beyond practice, that's like some sort of genius that makes it so that, you can get to that level where you're just playing that craziness and it's just like mind blowing.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know what he was born with, but there's something in his brain that's different because nobody can just play like that, you
Right.
know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty incredible. So you're endorsed by Collision, and endorsements are often seen as a quote unquote gear deal, but Collision seems to focus on the human side, the personal brand, and career longevity. How has this partnership helped you refine who you are as an artist on stage?
Collision is awesome. I mean, they're just really nice people, and it's kind of a true partnership, and it's rare to find a company that really supports, artists on our level
That has been
and has actually good gear. I mean, their sticks are good. Like I've played Vic Firth forever and they're super compatible. Cause I mean, at the end of the day, it's ridiculous having an endorsement of something you don't really care about just to say that. That means nothing. You know, you have to like the gear, use it, and then actually have a good relationship with the company. So I feel lucky to have found them. I haven't been with them that long, but it's been a really great experience. And I think they just overall give musicians like myself a little more confidence and support and help, which isn't something you really get a lot
It's nice.
in this industry on our level, you know?
And the other thing, I don't know if you've noticed this, but it does seem like the community of endorsees is kind of supportive of each other too, which is pretty
Yeah,
nice.
that too. That too. It's just like, oh yeah, it's a family, you know, or
Right.
everyone's,
That's
you know,
exactly what I was gonna
I
say.
mean,
Yeah.
look at what we're doing right here, but yeah, everyone seems really connected and that's a big part of every band, right? Is like bands
Yes.
that get big and stuff, they blew up in their community. They had it wasn't just family and friends. I mean, it was a really big group of, you know, the local community and then global that like brings them up. So it's cool to kind of join a big group like that of people that are interested in other musicians and bands.
Yeah. I agree. So finally, you're recording all this cool music and you have all this like amazing music out. Where can people find this? Where can they look for you so that they can hear it? I found it on YouTube and Spotify. Any place else just on the regular platforms, or where could they?
Uh, yeah, pretty much most of the platforms. You can go to our website, rivenbyravens.com, and you can pretty much get linked to everything from there that we have. That's kind of the
Okay.
easiest thing. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you for joining me today. I've loved this conversation. Was really looking forward to this interview, and I admire what you're doing. You're doing a lot of really great things, and just the extension of things that you're doing beyond the drum set, I think, is really impressive and interesting, and a nice contribution to the music as well. So I appreciate that.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it.